Welcome back. It is just coming up to 10 to 8 here in Paris. Time for Look at the Business with Matthew Warren. Now, more problems for that already troubled bailout plan in Cyprus.
Yes, that's right, Melissa. I mean, just to give the facts again, Cyprus being called on to raise 5.8 billion euros by itself in order to get this 10 billion euro package from the Eurozone and from the IMF. And protesters out on the streets protesting about this 6.75% levy on deposits under 100,000. We can see them there. Well, a vote was planned for in the Cypriot Parliament later this Tuesday. A government spokesman now saying that any legislation is unlikely to pass. And the Cypriot president has reportedly told the German Chancellor Angela Merkel that he is looking for extra help to what's already being offered. Well, extra help, what does that mean? That probably means a bit more money, a lessening of these terms, and perhaps an increase in this 10 billion euros. We'll find out more as the day progresses.
Of course, as we've been reporting for the last couple of days, Matthew, Cyprus is already under pressure to lower that levy, particularly on the small depositors. Yes,
so that 6.75% levy that I was just talking about, it's really been a concern. Eurozone finance ministers very worried about it as well, particularly and mainly because of the signal that it's sending to other countries within the Eurozone, particularly those that perhaps have slightly fragile banking sectors as well, like Spain. Well, this analyst explains what the problem is.
If the people have to help to rectify the mistakes in Cyprus by contributing through their own savings, then there is a danger that in other countries people will just decide over the breakfast table to withdraw their money from the banks.
Well, tell us now, Matthew, how the markets have been reacting.
Let's just before, I was just going to take you back to more on Cyprus before that, actually, because the banks will remain closed until this Thursday. And the big question that everyone's asking as well is how can a country that's just 0.2% of the Eurozone's GDP end up provoking this scale of international crisis? Well, more on that in this report from Stephen Carroll.
Closed until at least Thursday, Cyprus's banks are now at the heart of the latest Eurozone crisis spike. Much of the 17 billion euros Nicosia needs to stay afloat will go to its financial institutions. Like Ireland, where the banking crisis prompted the country to seek a bailout, the assets in Cypriot banks are worth more than 700% of the country's GDP, leaving the government unable to save them when their debts piled up.
The biggest problem of the Cyprus economy is simply the ailing banking sector, and that actually has mostly to do with the situation in Greece, because there was a lot of spillover from the Greek crisis to the Cypriot banking system, which hold a lot of Greek government bonds.
Another quirk of the Cypriot system, the huge holding of Russian deposits, the majority of 20 billion euros from non-Eurozone residents. Some Russian investors chose Cyprus because of its high interest rates and low corporate tax, while others took advantage of weak regulation in its banks.
Russian clients spent their time there, buying real estate and using the Cypriot banking system, which allowed them to make very privileged, but not always legal banking operations.
The fears over the Cypriot banks have been clear for some time. More than 1.7 billion euros were withdrawn in January, the highest figure in over 6 years. The sector's future is now in the hands of the country's parliament and its international lenders.
Well, that report from Stephen Carroll. And you asked about the markets, Melissa, so let's take a look. And the US markets on Monday all closed the day down on fears over what's going on in the Eurozone. Now, in Asia, it's been a mixed story in the Tuesday trading session. Now, most of them have been rising a bit more confident. You can see the Hang Seng just slipping back there. The Nikkei actually has already closed before that news came through about problems in Cyprus, up 2%. Well, let's get some more of the day's company news, and staying on the banking theme, the US bank Citigroup will pay $730 million to settle a dispute with bondholders. That's linked to the 2008 financial crisis. Those bondholders saying the bank misled them over its exposure to high-risk assets such as subprime mortgages. Well, Citi has denied the claim, but says it wants to eliminate the uncertainties that case is causing.
More money laundering charges for British bank HSBC. Argentina's tax chief says it's helped clients hide more than $100 million. HSBC hasn't denied the charge and says it's cooperating with authorities on the matter. Last year, the bank was hit by a $2 billion charge over money laundering claims linked to Mexican drug cartels.
And the aircraft maker Boeing has avoided a strike. Technical workers have voted to approve a 4-year deal. The company will also announce a big order from the Irish airline Ryanair this Tuesday. The low-cost carrier is expected to order 170 aircraft at a potential cost of up to $15 billion.
Now, that news from Boeing, of course, comes just a day after that record order for its rival Airbus.
That's right. Seems like low-cost airlines are splashing out at the moment. That order for Airbus came from Lion-Air, not Ryanair, but it sounds similar, and it's also a low-cost airline operating out of Indonesia. Well, it's not that well known in other parts of the world, but who is this airline that's become one of Airbus's biggest customers? More in this report from Mark Edwards and Axel Simon.
This is Lion-Air, the company which has just ordered 234 single-aisle jets from Airbus. It's a record-breaking deal by the low-cost Indonesian airline, until now little known in the European aeronautic space. In 13 years, Lion-Air has grabbed a lion's share of first the Indonesian and then the Asian market.
Notwithstanding challenge in aviation industry, on the back of the positive economic outlook and all passenger growth trend for Indonesia and Asia Pacific, together with Lion-Air's status strengths and experience in aviation industry.
Formed in 1999 by the Corona brothers, it had just one plane at the time. These days, there are 90 in their fleet. In 2012, Lion-Air became Indonesia's #1 airline, carrying 32 million passengers to 36 destinations, the majority in Southeast Asia. Indonesia is an emerging high-growth market whose airline industries are showing growth of over 100% a year.
These are impressive figures. 234 aircraft, 18 billion euros, which in reality honour the European industry, but also show the vitality of the Indonesian economy.
This is not Lion-Air's first taste of mega-contract dealings. In 2011, they bought 230 Boeing 737 jets. That order was Boeing's largest ever at the time. However, it's not all been plain sailing for the low-cost airline. The company is still on the European Union airline blacklist, having lost 2 aircraft in 5 years.
There, a little look there at the latest business headlines. Thank you very much indeed, Matthew Warren, our business editor there, with the very latest. In a couple of minutes, we'll be back with the latest headlines. A quick reminder, though, of that breaking news. A series of bombs in Baghdad in Shiite districts has killed at least 21 people. That death toll has been rising steadily. Most of those car bombings targeting Shiites. About 80 people have been wounded. That in the reports so far. These attacks come, of course, just a day before the country prepares to mark a decade since the US-led invasion, which was on the 20th of March in 2003. We'll continue to bring you all the very latest details on those attacks as they emerge.